as black people, not only black people in Africa, but black people around the world, we were defeated where it matters the most, which is the mind. I am going to say this honestly and sincerely, and some people may not like it, but it is our reality. We have African governments that have some members of the governments who are on the payrolls of foreign nations. We have Africans who are willing to be influenced, to be bought, to be paid in order to derail not only the continental agenda, but also agendas of their own country's development.
Hello everyone, and hello my beautiful people. Welcome back to the channel, and in case you're coming across this channel for the first time, you're highly welcome to this space. Now in today's video, I want us to answer or attempt to talk about this question, and the question is, what exactly is hindering the continent of Africa from ending colonial dominance in the continent, even as we already know that Africa is a very self-sufficient, or so we can say, or the rest of the world really needs Africa even more than we can say Africa needs the rest of the world. So in this video, I have with me here a video I want us to watch together. The video is by one Dr. Arikana Chihombori. I love to call her Mama Africa. So I'm going to share the video. Let's watch this video together. And at the end of the video, we're going to add our voice and our thoughts to it. So let's jump right into the video.
Well, you know, you've been working for a very long time, and, you know, since we've known each other, to really unite Africans, their purpose, their sense of identity, and to end and diminish foreign control and dominance of African states. And I guess my question to you in this moment, and when again you're on the same mission, what's getting in the way? What's getting in the way of the Arikana Chihombori mission to end dominance of Africa, to empower Africans and unite Africans?
I think one of the biggest problems and challenges that we have, I often say, as black people, not only black people in Africa, but black people around the world, we were defeated where it matters the most, which is the mind. I am going to say this honestly and sincerely, and some people may not like it, but it is our reality. We have African governments that have some members of the governments who are on the payrolls of foreign nations. We have Africans who are willing to be influenced, to be bought, to be paid in order to derail not only the continental agenda, but also agendas of their own country's development. You tell me, why is it that we have ministers of finance who come to Washington twice a year to discuss issues to do with funding for Africa, financial issues for Africa? Why haven't they come together and taken a position to truly challenge the World Bank and say, these loans that you continue to make us pay have been paid for gazillion times. They were illegally acquired. I'm encouraging everybody to read the book, Confessions of the Economic Hitman, where they talk about exactly how they would force these countries to accept these humongous loans. It was all a game at the expense of the African people. Our people know that, but why aren't they standing up and pushing back and calling a spade a spade? One, we have some that are on the payrolls of foreign governments, and yet they are in the government themselves. Shame on them. Two, we have some that are just scared of those who don't look like us. Again, it's part of the legacy of colonization and the legacy of slavery. We have some serious healing to do as Africans when it comes to our minds. No other man on earth in any leadership position would tolerate the abuse the Africans are tolerating, blatant abuse. So our bigger issue is the mind, our inability to fight back, our men standing up and being men like other men around the world. A lot of it has to do with some on an individual basis, greed. Others is just the mind. We're afraid of white people. We don't want to speak up in meetings because we're afraid we'll be labeled. It's the mind. At the end of the day, for me, it is the mind that was defeated. And until the mind is awoken and the mind is fearless and the mind simply says what's right is right, what is wrong is wrong, come to the United Nations, challenge the United Nations, go to the World Bank, challenge the World Bank with facts and knowledge of what is really going on. Call these nations out, tell them to stop the abuse, which is blatant. These nations are not trying to hide the abuse. The abuse is blatant. So to the Africans, I say, stand up, have a backbone, speak up. And for those in power, people appointed you into positions so you can represent the people. And to the people, I say to the Africans, if a leader is not representing you well, vote them out. We are sick and tired of being misrepresented by our leadership. Vote them out if they don't represent you well at a community level in your country. Vote them out if they are not representing you well at the world stage. They know the facts. Our people are now empowered. They know the games that are being played by the Western world, by the Eastern world. They are telling their leadership, we don't want it anymore. So we are demanding leadership that's going to defend us, leadership that's going to speak up, leadership that's going to say, do unto us as you want done unto you. Our ask as Africans is a very simple one. We want the world to treat us the way they would want to be treated. And our leaders are our mouthpiece. We expect them to speak up. We expect them to defend us by any means necessary. What we need are leaders that are awoken, fearless, and are ready to defend Africa like they were mandated to do by the people.
Thank you. Well, you've set expectations very high. We'll have to see how that plays out. I want to thank the former ambassador of the African Union to the United States, Arikana Chihombori-Quao. Thank you so much for being with us. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate you. Keep up the good work.
So what's the bottom line? On paper, it just sounds great. The U.S. wants to make room for African and other nations on the UN Security Council. But here's the rub. Nobody gets veto power except the original P5. The United States, the UK, Russia, France, and China. What an outdated and anachronistic lineup of nations. Where's Brazil? Where's India? Where's South Africa? So this obsolete version of power is kind of like a slow-moving train wreck, stumbling into the future. A future where the Big Five have less and less relevance to the way power actually works in the world. Instead of being the architect of a new global order that brings in the new rising powers and decreases global dysfunction, America is clinging to a power arrangement from nearly 80 years ago, knowing full well that this arrangement is getting weaker and weaker. And one day, it's just going to fall over. And that's the bottom line.
Well, excellent. So what are the takeaway points from this video by Dr. Arikana? So there are two main points here. So the first point has to do with a leadership of our people, the leadership of Black people, of Black nations, of Black communities. And she's telling us about how our leadership and our governance is twisted and shortchanged, or rather the leadership itself has shortchanged the masses to believe and to buy in the oppressive narrative of the propaganda of the imperialist, of the colonialist. It is time we spoke truth to power as Black people. It is time we stood for what we believe in, and it is time that we also stood for ourselves and for each other. And she also says, and she puts this clearly, and this is a point I really personally believe in so much, that this is the time we as the Black people, as the Black masses, those that are being led by our leaders, we have to take that responsibility and find those puppets and find those leaders that are being shortchanged, twisted, that are being manipulated to continue and front the interest of the West, the interests of the imperialist, and send them home undebatably, send them home with immediacy. you know. Another very strong point we are getting from Dr. Arikana is the mentality, the colonial legacy, in terms of what mentality the old colonial propaganda has sold to us as Black people. And when I talk about Black people, of course, it's Black people inside and outside of the continent of Africa. Now, simply, we are still clinging on to the colonial legacy when it comes to our mentality. We are still mentally colonized. And I know that we keep talking about decolonization of the mind. We have to decolonize the mind very many times, but there can never be too much of this for as long as we are still under the chokehold of neocolonialism. We have to continue and preach the same gospel, preach the same message of decolonizing the mind until it bears fruit. Because the thing is, for that colonial legacy, colonial mentality to have found its roots so deep in our people, is because it has been preached so many times. So the best way we have to counter this by preaching a counter narrative of the truth as many times as possible until our people decolonize truly, And we as a Black people must now stand up for ourselves, speak, give our voices through our leaders and through all of other possible platforms. Support such leaders that are our mouthpiece, that say what we believe in. Support platforms that give us the voice, that speak about what we believe in. We have to stand up by ourselves, tell our story, fight for our rights, fight for our place. Because the thing is, our story and our history is being told and taught from not our perspective, but the perspective of someone else. It has so much eroded our own history that now the history we know as a people is not even our history. It is an history of how other people imagine us to be. If we can tell our story, then other people will take advantage and tell the story in their own way. And this is very true, because recently I came across a video of a Chinese person that was trying to tell about how the Jamaicans, or people in Jamaica, are, not descendants of Africa, are not children from Africa, but more of, I don't know, people from Europe, Western Europe, that, Ireland and wherever. And really, I looked at the video myself, I shook my head and I said, see, this is what happens if we as Black people cannot tell our story. Other people will come with their biases, with their interest, and try to tell the story. There's this famous wise saying that says, until the lion is able to speak for himself, then the stories will always glorify the hunter. So we have to wake up, and we have to speak one truth to power, send home all those corrupt puppets, support leaders that are also supporting our cause, supporting us. And number two, we have to decolonize the mind. She says something very profound, that the problem with the Black people is we were defeated where it matters the most. We were mentally twisted to start believing in other people's stories, to buy other people's lies, So we have now to come out and change the narrative. Yeah, so that is what I had for today. Please add your voice to this by sharing your opinions in the comment section, like and share this video. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, support us by subscribing to the channel. So until next time, see you in the next video. Peace.